The story of Saint Nicodemus is shrouded in mystery and reverence. A Pharisee and member of the Sanhedrin, Nicodemus appears at crucial moments in the New Testament narrative, revealing a journey of spiritual transformation that resonates to this day. But who was this man who secretly sought the wisdom of Jesus and became a discreet yet vital defender of nascent Christianity? This is a story of courage, faith, and profound revelations. Nicodemus emerges in the scriptures as someone in search of answers. Despite his prominent position among the Pharisees, his curiosity and thirst for truth lead him to Jesus. This duality between his public identity and his private quest for understanding makes Nicodemus a fascinating and complex figure. He represents those who seek the truth, even when it might cost them everything they know. Christian tradition reveres Nicodemus for his courage to question and learn. He is not content with superficial or dogmatic answers. Instead, he desires to deeply understand Jesus' words, showing an openness of heart and mind that many in his position might fear to demonstrate. This quest for understanding is a central theme in his story. Nicodemus' journey is also a reflection on the power of personal transformation. Throughout his interaction with Jesus, we see a gradual but significant change in his understanding and faith. This transformation is not immediate, but it is profound and genuine, exemplifying how an encounter with the truth can alter a person's life in unexpected and powerful ways. Additionally, Nicodemus' story highlights the role of questioning and dialogue in spiritual growth. His famous nighttime meeting with Jesus testifies to the importance of seeking the truth, even in the shadows of doubt and uncertainty. This nighttime conversation reveals the depth of the questions he carries and his determination to find answers. The relevance of Nicodemus to contemporary Christians lies in his humanity. He is an example of how the search for truth can be a lonely and sometimes dangerous journey, but deeply rewarding. Nicodemus reminds us that faith and understanding are not given passively but require active and courageous pursuit. Jerusalem, during Nicodemus' life, was a center of religious and political turmoil. The Holy City, home to Solomon's Temple, was the beating heart of Judaism, attracting pilgrims and scholars from across the ancient world. Nicodemus, as a Pharisee and Sanhedrin member, was at the epicenter of this fervent activity, involved in theological debates and political decisions that shaped Jewish life under Roman rule. Jewish society at the time was marked by religious rigidity and messianic expectation. Roman oppression heightened the desire for a savior, and many wondered when and how the Messiah would come. Nicodemus, immersed in Pharisaic traditions, was certainly a man of great learning and faith. His position required a delicate balance between adhering to religious laws and navigating the complex political realities imposed by Rome. Daily life in Jerusalem for someone like Nicodemus was filled with responsibilities. He actively participated in Sanhedrin meetings, where important issues regarding the interpretation of the law were discussed. These meetings were not only religious gatherings but also arenas of intense political and social debate. Nicodemus, with his elevated position, would have been an influential participant in these deliberations. Besides his religious and political obligations, Nicodemus also lived in a time of great cultural diversity. Jerusalem was a meeting point of different peoples and ideas, creating an environment of constant intellectual exchange. This cultural diversity might have influenced Nicodemus in his search for answers beyond the traditional boundaries of Judaism, leading him to meet Jesus. Nicodemus' encounter with Jesus must be understood within this vibrant historical context. His decision to seek out Jesus at night indicates both his position of respect and the potential controversy of his actions. In a society where every move of religious leaders was closely watched, Nicodemus' choice to explore new ideas was an act of courage and intellectual curiosity. Nicodemus' meeting with Jesus, narrated in the Gospel of John, is one of the most profound and revealing dialogues in the New Testament. This nighttime encounter, away from the watchful eyes of other Pharisees, marks the beginning of a spiritual transformation that would forever change Nicodemus' life. The search for answers that led him to Jesus demonstrates his courage to question and seek the truth, regardless of the consequences. Nicodemus begins his dialogue with Jesus by acknowledging him as a rabbi sent by God. He states that the signs and miracles performed by Jesus are evidence of his divine origin. This openness and recognition of Jesus by a Sanhedrin member are significant, as it shows Nicodemus' willingness to go beyond popular opinions and seek the truth for himself. The ensuing dialogue between Nicodemus and Jesus is profound and full of symbolism. Jesus speaks about the need to be born again, a spiritual transformation that goes beyond mere adherence to religious laws. Nicodemus, with his Pharisaic background, struggles to understand this concept, asking how a grown man can be born again. This interaction reveals the tension between literal interpretation of the scriptures and the deeper spiritual understanding that Jesus proposes. Jesus explains to Nicodemus that the new birth is a spiritual one, an inner transformation by God's Spirit. This concept of spiritual rebirth challenges Nicodemus' traditional beliefs and invites him to a new way of understanding his faith. The conversation between the two continues, exploring themes of light and darkness, belief and unbelief, offering Nicodemus a glimpse of a deeper and transformative spiritual path. This encounter with Jesus plants the seeds of transformation in Nicodemus. Although he does not fully comprehend at the moment, the depth of Jesus' words continues to resonate in his heart and mind. This is the beginning of a journey that will lead him to become a secret but dedicated supporter of Jesus and his teachings, even in the face of opposition from his peers in the Sanhedrin. Another crucial revelation from this encounter is the inclusive nature of God's love. Jesus explains that God loved the world so much that he gave his only Son so that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. This message of universal love and salvation contrasts with the restrictive and exclusivist view that many of Nicodemus' contemporaries might have held. It is a call to understand that salvation is accessible to all, regardless of their background or status. The dialogue also explores the difference between light and darkness, belief and unbelief. Jesus speaks about those who love darkness because their deeds are evil, but those who practice the truth come to the light. This metaphor challenges Nicodemus to reflect on his own life and the choices he makes. Is he willing to step out of the shadows and embrace the light of truth, even if it means facing disapproval from his peers? Moreover, Jesus reveals to Nicodemus the nature of his own ministry and mission. He compares his future crucifixion to the lifting up of the serpent in the desert by Moses, indicating that his death will be a means of salvation for all. This revelation anticipates Jesus' passion and crucifixion, showing Nicodemus the divine plan of redemption unfolding before his eyes. Finally, the nighttime dialogue is a moment of deep introspection for Nicodemus. He is challenged to reconsider everything he knows and to open his heart to a new truth. This encounter not only changes the trajectory of his life but also offers timeless lessons about the nature of faith, the importance of spiritual renewal, and the breadth of God's love. After his encounter with Jesus, Nicodemus continues to play his role as a member of the Sanhedrin, but with a new perspective. He becomes a silent supporter of Jesus, using his position to try to ensure fair treatment for him. This change in attitude is significant, as it shows how the truth revealed to him by Jesus begins to influence his actions and decisions. A notable example of this change occurs when the Sanhedrin tries to arrest Jesus. Nicodemus stands up and questions whether it is just to condemn a man without first hearing him and investigating what he does. This brave intervention highlights his commitment to justice and truth, values that he begins to understand more deeply after his encounter with Jesus. His question is not just a defense of Jesus, but a call for the integrity of the legal process and justice. Nicodemus' presence in the Sanhedrin also represents the internal struggle many face when trying to reconcile their new beliefs with their old responsibilities and loyalties. He is in a difficult position, where his emerging faith in Jesus conflicts with the expectations and pressures of his position as a Pharisee. This tension reflects the challenge many believers face when trying to live their convictions in hostile or indifferent environments. Despite the possible repercussions, Nicodemus continues to support Jesus discreetly. His defense in the Sanhedrin may not have changed the opinions of the other members, but it shows his integrity and courage. He refuses to allow injustice to prevail without raising his voice, even if his intervention is subtle and careful. This stance by Nicodemus serves as an example of how truth can inspire brave and just actions, even in the face of adversity. Moreover, Nicodemus' actions in the Sanhedrin reveal the complexity of the political and religious dynamics of the time. The Sanhedrin was not only a religious body but also an institution with significant political power. Nicodemus' defense of Jesus puts him in a precarious position, as he must navigate these turbulent waters without compromising his new principles of faith. Finally, Nicodemus' role in the Sanhedrin highlights the importance of defending truth and justice. He teaches us that even in difficult situations, it is possible to maintain integrity and act according to our convictions. His story reminds us that true faith is not passive but active and engaged, always seeking to promote justice and truth. When Jesus was condemned to death, Nicodemus played a crucial role in one of the darkest moments in Christian history. After the crucifixion, he, along with Joseph of Arimathea, had the courage to ask Pilate for Jesus' body. This bold act was not only a gesture of respect but also a silent acknowledgement of Jesus' importance and message. Nicodemus brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds, to anoint Jesus' body. This significant amount of spices not only shows the respect and reverence he had for Jesus but also indicates the depth of his devotion. He was willing to spend his personal resources and risk his reputation to honor Jesus properly. Nicodemus' act of preparing Jesus' body for burial is laden with symbolism. It represents the transition from a secret follower to an active believer, willing to publicly identify with Jesus even after his death. This courageous and compassionate action highlights the inner transformation that began with his nighttime encounter with Jesus. The preparation of Jesus' body by Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea also highlights Jesus' humanity and vulnerability. Even in death, he was treated with dignity and respect, a contrast to the brutality of his crucifixion. Nicodemus' care in preparing Jesus' body reflects the deep reverence and love he developed for the Master. Moreover, this moment marks a turning point in Nicodemus' life. He moves from being a curious observer to an active participant in the Christian community. His willingness to take such a significant role at a time of great personal risk shows the depth of his faith and his readiness to follow Jesus, regardless of the consequences. Nicodemus' participation in preparing Jesus' body serves as a powerful example of how faith can inspire concrete and meaningful actions. He teaches us that true devotion manifests in acts of courage and compassion, and that even in the most challenging times, we can find ways to honor and serve those who inspire us. The preparation of Jesus' body by Nicodemus is a testimony to the courage and newfound faith of this Pharisee. At a time when Jesus' followers were scattered and frightened, Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea took decisive action. This act was not just the fulfillment of funeral rites but a declaration of faith and loyalty to Jesus, even in death. Jewish tradition deeply valued funeral rites, And Nicodemus, with his knowledge and position, was well aware of the implications of his act. He knew that by caring for Jesus' body, he was publicly identifying with him, which could bring social and religious repercussions. However, his faith drove him to act, showing that his inner transformation had manifested in outward actions. The use of myrrh and aloes is significant not only for the quantity but for what it represents. These spices were used to embalm and honor the dead, and Nicodemus' generosity in providing such materials demonstrates his deep respect and reverence for Jesus. This act of kindness and care is a tangible reflection of the change in his heart and mind. Furthermore, the act of preparing Jesus' body can be seen as a symbol of preparation for the new birth, a central theme in the initial conversation between Nicodemus and Jesus. Just as he prepared Jesus' body for burial, Jesus had prepared Nicodemus for new life through his teachings. This deep connection between the events highlights the continuity and depth of Nicodemus' spiritual transformation. The collaboration between Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea is also significant. Both were members of the Sanhedrin, yet they found the courage to act against the tide of opposition. This partnership shows that even amid adversity and risk, faith can unite individuals from different backgrounds to perform acts of great importance and significance. After Jesus' resurrection, Nicodemus' figure remains shrouded in mystery and speculation. The scriptures do not provide details about his later life, but Christian traditions and legends offer various narratives about what might have happened to him. These stories reflect both admiration for his faith and the lasting impact of his actions during Jesus' life. One of the most well-known traditions suggests that Nicodemus continued to be a follower of Jesus, albeit discreetly. He would have joined the early Christians, participating in the nascent church's activities covertly due to his position and the dangers he faced. This narrative highlights his constant quest for truth and his loyalty to Jesus' teachings, even after his death and resurrection. Another popular legend claims that Nicodemus was expelled from the Sanhedrin due to his faith in Jesus. This expulsion symbolizes the price he paid for his devotion and commitment to the new faith. The story suggests that he lost his prestigious position and faced ostracism and persecution but remained steadfast in his belief, a testament to his courage and conviction. Some apocryphal traditions mention Nicodemus in non-canonical texts, where he is portrayed as a fervent defender of Jesus. In certain apocryphal Gospels, he appears as one of the followers who helped spread Jesus' message, contributing to the early church's growth. These stories, though not officially accepted, reflect the lasting influence of his faith and actions. Besides legends, Nicodemus' impact is felt in Christian art and literature throughout the centuries. He is often depicted in religious artworks, symbolizing the journey of transformation and commitment to the truth. These artistic representations help keep the memory of his courage and devotion alive. Nicodemus' legacy is a testament to the power of spiritual transformation and the relentless search for truth. His story, both factual and legendary, inspires Christians to persevere in their faith, even amid adversity and uncertainty. Nicodemus reminds us that true devotion often requires sacrifice but also offers profound and lasting rewards. Nicodemus, though not widely mentioned in the scriptures after Jesus' resurrection, had a significant influence on early Christianity. His spiritual journey and actions during Jesus' crucial moments left a legacy that continued to resonate among early Christians and beyond. His story serves as a powerful example of personal transformation and commitment to the truth. Nicodemus' courage in defending Jesus in the Sanhedrin and his willingness to prepare Jesus' body for burial demonstrate a level of devotion that inspired many of Christ's early followers. He showed that it is possible to follow Jesus even amid great challenges and social pressures. This courage inspired others to be firm in their faith, regardless of the consequences. Moreover, Nicodemus' story was used by early Christians as an evangelization tool. His example served to show that even the most respected and learned members of Jewish society could be transformed by Jesus' message. This point was especially important at a time when Christianity was expanding and seeking new converts in different social strata. Nicodemus' figure gained new life through apocryphal texts and traditions that emerged after the apostolic era. Although not accepted in the official canon, these texts offer fascinating insights into how Nicodemus was perceived and venerated in early Christianity's first centuries. They help paint a fuller and more detailed portrait of this follower of Jesus who played a crucial role at decisive moments. One of the most well-known texts mentioning Nicodemus is the Gospel of Nicodemus, also known as the Acts of Pilate. This apocryphal text describes in detail Jesus' trial, crucifixion, and subsequent events. Though its authorship and dating are uncertain, the text reflects the importance attributed to Nicodemus in preserving and transmitting the events of Christ's passion. Besides the Gospel of Nicodemus, other apocryphal traditions depict Nicodemus as a fervent defender of Jesus who continued spreading the Christian message after the resurrection. These narratives, though not considered historical, show how Nicodemus was seen as a model of faith and devotion. He is portrayed as someone who faced persecution and challenges but remained faithful to his belief in Jesus. These texts also help understand Nicodemus' cultural and spiritual impact. They show how he was integrated into the early church's collective memory and how his story was used to inspire and instruct believers. Nicodemus' rediscovery through these writings reflects Christians' ongoing search for examples of faith and courage. Nicodemus' veneration is also evident in liturgical and iconographic traditions. He is often depicted in sacred art, particularly in Passion scenes, where he and Joseph of Arimathea are shown caring for Jesus' body. These visual representations serve as constant reminders of his devotion and courage, perpetuating his legacy through the centuries. Nicodemus' rediscovery in apocryphal texts and traditions highlights the richness and diversity of Christian narratives. Though not all these stories are accepted as canonical, they contribute to a deeper and more comprehensive understanding of Nicodemus' figure and his impact on Christian history. They remind us that faith is a complex journey, full of challenges and moments of revelation, and figures like Nicodemus play a vital role in guiding us through that journey. Finally, Nicodemus' legacy challenges us to consider the depth of our faith and commitment. He reminds us that true spiritual transformation is an ongoing process requiring courage, sincere searching, and a willingness to act according to the truth. Nicodemus' story, with his example of faith, courage, and devotion, continues to inspire and guide Christians on their spiritual journey, offering a model of how to live a life of active and committed faith. Thank you for reaching the end of this video. Stay tuned for our upcoming videos. Saint Nicodemus, pray for us.